It's in the place. It's in place like 15 years ago. It's not that happy.
Oh, no, that's a whole different place.
That's a little bit down. That's down an industrial road. You bring your own beverage there and it stays open a little bit later.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of hardworking people.
Why are all those trailers out back? No reason. That's right. All I know is Langston's got his fancy media credential.
I'm gonna just tell you, it took me
2903. It took me this long to make it to the SEC meeting. I never made it as a player. Damn it, Ryan Brewer, you always took my spot. Preston Thorne got the so I'm just happy to be out here.
You're doing something big time in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just talk through your nose more like that. Get up there in the nails of cavity so you can sound like a collar.
I do have
All right, so today we'll go over all the important things Greg Sankey said. Okay, we're done.
16 is our today. 16 is our tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to get a T-shirt. I'm going to get a T-shirt that says that because it was so funny. The go-to for almost every answer was, "We're 16. We're 16 today, and we're focusing on being 16. We could be 16 tomorrow too. He didn't say we're not going to be 16 tomorrow. We could be 16 tomorrow. We could be 16 till the end of time."
That's right. I did not say that.
Right.
So, yeah, he was very well briefed and
So almost mentally or 16.
I've been 16 for many years. Yes, I have. I think it's funny. I'll ask to you guys that the question was asked about Florida State Clemson because that's the thing. And like you said, I am currently because he's a very smart man. I am currently not negotiating with any other teams from any other conference. That would be unfair to my good friend Jen Phillips, Jackie Phillips, good friend, the ACC commissioner. Look, I believe they don't feel the need to expand. But you've got to leave your dual track record. You've got to go down that road. You didn't say you weren't going to do it. Excellent commissioners, fellas.
100%. And what law school did this guy graduate from? Something like. But again, the language always matters because at this morning at 9:30 Central Time, we're not negotiating these things. But maybe when I get out of here and go downstairs, get me a little sandwich, I get a phone call from somebody that kicks the conversation down the road. It's inevitable that we know these power conferences more, more people getting sucked up into these deals, and you're trying to get some geography stuff, some football. You want some history to come in there with you, but you can't completely shut that door. But I've heard other commissioners say dumb things and walk those things back later on. So I think he's just trying to play it coy as.
Well, he is, and I think that's the right thing to do. Yeah. But I just, Elijah and I talked about it a bunch. We all have at some point. I really don't want to see any more. I don't want to see the ACC go away.
No.
And the SEC won't be looked at as a conference killer the way the Big Ten might have killed the Pac-12. Yeah, we talked about it before. Kevin Warren. I've used the analogy.
Ginsu knives.
He didn't stab him in the back. Kevin went with his right hand outstretched and shook their hand, while with his left hand he pulled the knife out of the sheath and went straight up the gut. The SEC doesn't want to do that if it falls in their lap. But I was telling Elijah, I've been talking to some of the attorneys around this ACC versus Clemson FSU case, and the word tortious interference come in, and the SEC doesn't want to be sued for tortious interference because the money the SEC makes may become the money that the ACC makes if it's provable. So you got to wait and let things fall down. But I like you said, this conference does not need to do anything because it is already seen as they over. And Greg had the numbers across the sports spectrum today. I mean, for how great this conference is.
Let's throw this out real quick, okay? Well, let's focus. We've had these Florida State Clemson conversations forever. But real quick, Elijah, okay, what does Florida State and Clemson bring that the SEC doesn't already have?
Absolutely nothing. They don't bring anything that they don't already have. You already have markets in the state of Florida. You already have market in the state of South Carolina. In terms of TV money, which is how, let's face it, all of these decisions are made. You're not getting anything you don't already have. All you'd be doing is distributing more money to feed more mouths. And if it's not making you more money, then individually you are going to have to face tougher games, have 2 schools with adequate resources that can kick your tail in anything. And you're really making logistics a lot harder for yourself. You're making life harder for yourself for not enough money to make it worth your while.
Yeah, it's the juice worth the squeeze. And again, think about this. Florida State, phenomenal softball program. Oklahoma State, phenomenal softball program. So again, Oklahoma, we don't have to worry about those things. So I think they're in the catbird seat. I mean, again, just take your time. Don't do what was the word again?
Tortious interference.
It sounds like one of those words I'd have to look really hard when I was.
We're gonna just let Jay say it. If we need to say it, we're just gonna point at Jay.
Interference.
Now Shane will be popping on stage 12:35 approximately Eastern time, 11:35 here in Dallas. You were at the Gaggle.
Yes. So was Elijah.
So was Elijah.
Yeah, my arm hurts from taking so much video. That's why I'm not going to walk around here, my arms up like this.
So despite your 2 torn labrums, did you guys get anything from the Gaggle conversation that it was kind of sparked you?
I mentioned to Tyler and Wes and Chris earlier, to be serious about a couple of things. He was asked about the injuries last year on the offensive line and what's been done to address those. And he'll probably do that again here in a little bit. The other was, I mentioned to the guys last hour, the gleam in Shane's eye in talking about Rocket Sanders and saying in so many words, I think a lot of people have forgotten how good that dude was in 2022. And I'm kind of glad that they've forgotten. I and the point I've been making, and will continue now, I'm sort of reshaping my theme of the season. I think Shane is actually good with Carolina flying under the radar.
He's feeding off of that. The biggest theme from hearing him speak is that his perception of the public's perception is that we have all forgotten who they have coming back. We know that, Spencer Rattler ain't walking through that door. Xavier Legette ain't walking through that door. But he spent a lot of time today talking about how much he likes that defense and how people just forget how good, Jay said it, like how good Rocket Sanders was. And because he had such a down year last year, it's easy, I guess, to forget exactly what is coming in. And I think that's the one thing he pressed on the most, is that you all are forgetting what we have as opposed to focusing on what departed.
100%. And again, when you lose Xavier Legette, you lose the quarterback, even with the numbers not showing it what it was. The biggest thing, the reason why those numbers weren't they were, and God bless Spencer Rattler for taking. I played on a bunch of teams where the defensive line had to come in at the late end of the year, and that's what happened last year. Even just getting through the week, you had to get tight ends and third-string walk-ons. Is there even third-string walk-ons? They had to figure out a way to have some of those things out there. And it's also tough on the defense because you're not trying to bash guys and have a full-on scrimmage, but you're trying to refine your craft. The Tonka Hemingways, those guys are trying to refine their craft when they're going up against the Clemsons, when it's really mattering to try to hit your stride right there. And it makes it really, really difficult. And here's the thing about football. Football is weird like that. For some reason, all your DBs get hurt. And now you got to have Mike Fury play DB in the NFL like he actually had to do. And having a guy on that staff, there's no excuse for that. And they didn't make excuses, but it is what it is. To come back healthy, with the 5-star offensive line guys coming in, plus all the defensive guys, the familiarity, and again, the Dowell Loggins, Rocket Sanders. I'm glad he's on it here, but when I see Rocket Sanders, I still need to have a conversation from 2 years ago when we played him up there and they cooked us right. A lot of that is our fault. We didn't stop the run, but I'm glad that guy is on our side now, and we're going to have that with the healthy offensive line, because that's, again, the familiarity with Dowell, knowing how to understand it, and Sean Elliott. Hopefully they're letting him be creative with his run. That's why we brought all these guys in. Let's fly underneath the radar until folks figure out what we are and who we are, and we'll take it from there for sure.
You had to live the life of a guy who changed positions, and you did it young.
Yeah.
It's not that you couldn't play offensive line. I know you told the story before. Like Lou told you were never going to.
Yeah.
But when you had to, is it more about I don't want to screw up relative to I want to go perform?
Well, and that was the beautiful thing. It was about get over yourself. Like, I could pout and say, oh, I'm glad I'm in the starting lineup, but what are you doing? What are you doing? And that was really where, our program was turning, because you started to care. You didn't want to let the guy next to you down, even though we lost every single game with those games were a lot closer for us, and we were just a hair away. But obviously, we reaped the benefits of that the next year. But yeah, that was the biggest thing: accepting your role, accepting your position. Yeah, you say you want to start in the SEC. They didn't say it was going to be on the offensive line, right? And so that's again, you got to be careful what you ask for, and then suck it up and be a pro because. I mean, this feels like I've come down here for like Super Bowls and different things. Now, obviously, this isn't as grand as the Super Bowl, but the SEC is up there. I mean, this is the minor leagues of before you go to act like a pro. And that's one of the biggest things I think I learned. And I think a lot of the players will learn. And of course, the coaching staff, again, Sean Elliott, Coach Travarius being there on the defensive line. I mean, he has a whole Carolina care about him. He's I always say he's the Brad Long disciple. So all of those things, he's going to make sure he checks those things. That's what I'm really most excited about is the two offensive and defensive line. And those things aren't sexy because we still haven't even talked about Lenore Sellers and all those different things. But those are the things that are going to make this engine go enough for us to make those runs we're talking about.
Does he have Brad's vocabulary? That's the question.
You hope. That'd be fun.
Make sure you don't play that part of the tape. When Shane said cut the tape off, cut off all the coach trash, cut off all his stuff.
Well, and fellas, think about this real quick before we go to break, is that last year this team was picked third preseason in the SEC East. So there was a little bit of expectation even at SEC Media Days for what that last year could have been. This year, not that expectation. And look, and you guys all know this, we've been paying attention to this stuff way too long. You played. Some coaches like being under the radar. They like being the hunter. They don't like being the hunted.
Man,
they like being the hunter.
I think it's even more so than, it was the old Lou Holtz adage. When we're up by 50, he comes in there. I don't know what y'all doing. What's the problem? We can't do anything right. But when we're down by 3 touchdowns, we got them right where we want them, guys. Didn't I tell you this? And I think most coaches would love to do that because, again, you can tighten the thumb screws. And these kids love the kind of, especially with social media days, you can really kind of tighten it up and get them fired up.
All right. SEC Media Days live from Dallas, brought to you by the Anastapula Law Firm, recovering millions for their clients for over 30 years, whether it's a slip or a fall, car accident, any other issue that could result in an accident. The Anastapula Law Firm can help you. Remember, it's very simple. Don't scream. Call Akeem. 800-ALL-7s. And LexMed, Lexington Medical Orthopedic, board-certified physicians combining the highest quality care and treatment to get the best results, getting you better sooner. That's LexMed Ortho. I will get back in here. We'll talk about the players that are here at SEC Media Days with Jay and Elijah and Langston. And we'll also find out where we need to eat and drink later from Langston. We need to know what's dope. It's 2024 SEC Media Days, the halftime show live from Dallas on the Game. 2024 SEC Media Days live from the Omni here in Dallas. Terry Ford, Jay Phillips took off and probably got lost. Langston have to go find him at some point. Langston Moore's here.
We got an air tag on
Also,
him or something.
Elijah, as we roll the halftime show from 2024 SEC Media Days. All right, real quick, we got to get a little Greg Sankey in here in a minute. The commissioner spoke, and it was so funny because I'm talking to Tyler like in Q, right? Because Tyler's going through the sound. And Tyler says, wow, Greg Sankey talked for 30 minutes in that opening statement and said nothing. I'm like, that's why he's the commissioner of the SEC.
Derek Jeter would blush with that type of performance of speaking for so long and giving absolutely nothing.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Exactly.
We don't call it hot bag. I mean, it's just, it's that's the part of not saying this is all a con or all a ruse, but again, just selective with your language. You don't want to. What they say a consultant is, they you hire them, they come in there, you give them your watch, and they tell you what time it is and give you the watch back. It's kind of like we all know what this was. All right, yeah.
I always love consultants. They come in and just blather on for like 3 or 4 days. Take your money, and when they leave, you go, "What exactly did they tell us?" Nothing. So we'll get to Greg Sankey here in a minute talking about the litigation, also the tiebreakers. There's got to be tiebreakers now in the SEC because conferences are gone. So we'll get to that. Something actually interesting.
Yeah, never really thought. I didn't think about
Greg
that.
Sankey. What was the question? Someone asked in the Q&A. Some media guy got up and said, "Look, I know none of this matters right now, but this tiebreaker thing in the SEC." So we'll get to that. Real quick though, Luke Doty, Debo Williams is here. For South Carolina, also blanket.
Boogie Huntley.
Yes, Boogie
And I've
Huntley.
been looking around to see how svelte he is, because that's always the test for me for the defensive line guys. How are they looking coming out of the offseason? Is a little gutly right there? Is he looking? What's going on? Is he looking svelte? What's going on?
Plus, you can see something when you're suited up.
That's right.
You get to see a
Saw
little
Debo
something.
on Radio Row. He looking very, very looking like he's ready to knock somebody out. I mean, just. Is that
By the
shoulder
way-
pads in that suit there or not? But no, that's just.
By the way,
all.
did you like the way he was unbuttoned? Did you like, what was that, 3 buttons
Oh,
down?
he gave you a little.
Inspired
He
me.
gave you a little chest. He gave you okay. All right.
Once I
I
saw
was too
that
busy
picture-
looking at the shoulder. I was like, is that shoulder pads? Is it like a Nita Baker in 1980 shoulder pad kind of jacket? But no, that's all him.
Once I saw the picture of them outside the plane, I was like, you know what? I could lose a button. I can. I could be a
It gives
little.
you the
I
confidence.
could be a little bolder with the button
See?
situation.
And here you are.
And like it can be a little warm in here. There's a lot of bodies here. We're all crammed into like not a small area, but there's body heat around here. And he comes in with that, with the chain that says Debo on it. It's iced out. This place goes 2 degrees colder.
That's right. Get a little
Immediately.
frosty.
Immediately.
So basically, you did you unbuttoned the top, but we could get you like something that says Elijah, like Debo.
I can go
I mean,
like
his,
one more
his
down.
credential says that right now, but
That's true.
what will get him behind the backstage? The credential or the chest hair? What is that?
That's
What's going to
right.
get him past the security? This nice security woman up here in the front? I don't know.
But they stopped Saban. Saban didn't have a.
I heard about that.
Yeah, he didn't have his
Somebody, come on,
credentials.
somebody.
Rules are rules, pal.
I
That's
feel
right,
you.
bud.
I don't care. Who you
She's
think
sitting
you
up there going, "You ain't getting through. Not on my watch. I don't care what your name is."
I've seen this trick before.
Oh, yeah.
The old fake Nick Saban trick
That's
to
right.
get in the SEC. Oh, I've seen this one.
So let me ask you about the 3 guys that get picked. We have Luke Doty,
Yep.
Debo, we've got Boogie. 3. I mean, all of them have been with the program for a long time. Debo transferred in, but obviously Doty and Huntley have been here from the jump. They were recruited by Muschamp. What does it like from playing? As you said, I mean, you're still bitter, obviously, that Preston showed up at
Right.
SEC Media
He
Days
got
and
to
you
fly in
didn't,
the PJ, man.
and you didn't get to do it.
No.
But does the locker room care who gets
Nah,
picked?
I don't think they really care because, again, I think it's also one of those things because this is kind of right before training camp.
Mhm.
So you probably had to stay in and around Columbia an extra week and, meet with the media folks and, let's get our stuff together. And again, it's a great experience. But after you've been doing it all, training and spring and rolling right into Maymester, rolling right into the summer training, you're like, man, it's all right. But then later on, when you're seeing the sound bites later, you're like, man, Debo's looking good, man. I wish I went to the SEC Media Days. But they did a great job again. I think a well-represented group of Gamecocks to come up here. Of course, Bilgy, he's been in and around the program, seeing obviously the early success was here when the back end of the Muschamp coming into the Beamer deal. Same way with Debo, but Luke Doty. I mean, I think about him and kind of synonymous with our guy, DeCarrion Joyner, who's just been in the program, just a winner who's found ways to contribute, and hopefully we find ways to turn up his usage this year in a whole bunch of different ways because he is athletic, he is tough, and God bless him. He hung around when everybody else in the world would have found a way to go to Coastal Carolina or that is the name of the game this year, is to try to get in the transfer portal if things aren't going the way I feel they are, and that's life. That's football more than anything.
Quick question. what guy on your team? Because again, one of the things about bringing players for SEC Media Days is you don't want guys to say the wrong things and cause
that's the other reason why
chaos
Langston
and
Moore probably
crazy.
didn't come.
I was going to say, is that why you didn't show up? I was getting ready to ask you.
You didn't have the coach player filter.
And that's called great coaching. You just we got to give Langston. No, don't give Langston the ball. He likes to fumble in these situations, versus like let Langston hold the, be the line leader, let him hold the stick in the line. It's the same way, and that's very important because, like you said, with Debo and those guys, because those guys are going to be the leaders. Like we just talked about in the last segment, really the emphasis on stopping the run, getting a lot better. We got this phenomenal dynamo as a quarterback who's unproven. Let's get him as many touches and many opportunities as we can. We got to do that with defense. Having Boogie and Debo here to kind of echo some of the sentiment, not give away all the trade secrets, but also for them to show a little bit of their personality as well, because those are great guys. Boogie got a chance to meet his mom when he was getting recruited and all these different things. So, for everybody nationally or just in our conferences, he is also a great representation too.
I could see Lou going, okay, here's the list of guys we don't take SEC Media Days. More.
Yes.
Langston
and
Moore.
I can tell you what Lou Holtz said. Hell no. That's Lou Holtz. Hell no. Not him.
Guy.
No.
That ain't happening. All right, we're going to get back as we continue here from Dallas 2024 SEC Media Days. Shane will speak at 12:45-ish. So we're going to pop out, come back, and we're going to hear some Greg Sankey, a couple of cuts from Sankey talking about obviously the ongoing, never-ending litigation in the world of college athletics and the tiebreaker scenario, because now divisions are gone. We might have tiebreaker scenarios to figure out who's going to play in the SEC championship games and things of that nature. All right, 2024 SEC Media Days live from the Omni in Dallas, brought to you by Forest Lake Travel, the official travel agent of the Game Network. Whether it's a family vacation or a road trip to Gamecock Road Games, Forest Lake Travel will take care of you. 803-738-1520. And Mr. P's Pool and Pool Supply, expert pool services in Dillon and Florence, your go-to source for above-ground pools. 843-841-0900. 2024 SEC Media Days from Dallas. We'll come back halftime show. Terry Ford, Langston's here, Elijah's here. We don't know what the hell happened to Jay Phillips. We'll get back in here. Here's some Greg Sankey, some of the commissioner's comments to open SEC Media Days next here on The Game. 2024 SEC Media Days from Dallas. We are hanging out here, halftime show. Terry Ford, Langston Moore's here. Elijah, I just saw Jay, so he found his way back.
He found his
and
way
now
back.
he's gone again.
He's got his autograph book though, so
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a good thing. It's got stickers on the front.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Can you sign this? It's like that. It's like when you're in high school. If someone walks up to you, you have no idea who they are. Did you sign my yearbook? And you have to start looking through it to
go
see
to
who
school
they are.
here?
Right? It's like, who the hell are you? And then when they walk up, you walk away. You sign it without them looking because you want to act like you're writing something deep and insightful. You go, okay, what's their name? What's this dude's name? I have no
That's
idea.
when you
who
write
this
down
guy
the
is.
wrong one on purpose.
Oh, that's what you say. Hey, big guy.
Hey, bud. Hey,
My man.
Hey, my friend. That's right.
Have a good summer, Chief.
Never forget all our good times together.
Chief, very universal.
And that was the end of it. Ready. Have a good summer and good luck next year.
That's right.
All right, we are hanging 2024 SEC Media Days. Greg Sankey spoke for almost an hour, roughly, and again said really nothing of any substance, which is his job. To be fair, let's fire this one up, Tyler. He talked about was obviously look. Everyone gets tired of talking about it, but it hovers over college athletics, and that's the litigation, the nonstop litigation that college athletics is going through right now. And here's Greg Sankey talking about that process.
Part of the current settlement effort is to resolve, to the extent we can resolve as much as possible, to do just that. We're not alone in college athletics at being pursued from a litigation front. You saw what happened in the NFL's Sunday ticket decision. You look at Major League Soccer, just doing research on Law 360. You can see the existing open lawsuits there. We clearly have had to think differently, and you can see that happening as decisions are made on policy. An element of the question is how much authority can be managed at a national level through the NCAA. That's clearly what's under full scrutiny. What can be managed at the conference level? If it's less nationally, how do you actually have Final Fours in college football playoffs if everybody's to have a different set of rules? I also would observe that when you look at litigation that exists at the professional level, it's not an indication that that model solves all litigation threats. The simple observation is we live in a litigious society, and we have to continue to make wise decisions informed by legal counsel and be prepared to defend those decisions that are made. Lastly, we're dealing with historic change. And again, people have written over time they should have changed sooner. The reality is, whether you take that opinion or not, the change is happening now.
All right, we'll get back to this, but right now Shane is hitting the platform at 12:35. So let's go to Shane Beamer live on the platform at SEC Media Days here in Dallas.
December 2020 becoming the first.
All right, that was Coach Beamer out at SEC Media Days in Dallas. We'll get back out to Jay, Terry, Elijah, and Langston Moore as they got live coverage from Radio Row coming up. It is the halftime show on your SEC Media Days Monday on the game.
Oh, just hanging out here, eating some barbecue. Oh yeah, watching coaches. That part too. The SEC Media Days part. I was concentrating on eating.
I'm about to say, what's more important, Shane Beamer's comments or this brisket over here?
Oh, Shane Beamer's comments.
While eating the brisket.
While eating, standing there. Good game. Third boy from Columbia. One quick question.
Yeah, I was wondering, so many questions about, SEC and Oklahoma coming. Nobody asked the barbecue questions. If there was going to be a battle for barbecue between Oklahoma, Texas, now that they're coming again versus Georgia barbecue, South Carolina, who would? And I
so you would be the dude for that question, Langston Moore.
There's always tomorrow. I'm gonna get him tomorrow.
Absolutely. Langston Moore hanging out with us, obviously former Gamecock. Jay Phillips, we found him again. He's now sitting here writing things. And we sent Elijah off to interview people with his phone.
Yes.
So you guys
with the chest hair out. With the chest hair out.
Oh, with the chest hair out, and we just got to get him a little gold bar that says Elijah.
That's right. We still got to work that into the budget.
Good luck with that. We got to sell another sponsor. We are here at 2024 SEC Media Days at the Omni in Dallas. Terry Ford, Langston Moore, Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. Jay and Elijah will get the post-game show going here at 3 Eastern here on the game. All right, so Shane talked.
Yeah, don't say times anymore. Just say whatever past the hour, because otherwise I'm going to get.
I know, man.
Again, this
Plus
is what I do.
Central Time, and just message.
We've only had 2 of these in Eastern Time. We've had 2 of these in Atlanta. The whole my career, it's been Central Time, Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham Central, right?
And I get used to it it used to be 3 days, now it's 4. But I never got used to it when it was 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
On the last day, I'm like, all right, I know exactly what to do. And then it's time.
You know what's interesting to me is that my phone is on Central Time. My computers are on Eastern Time.
Yeah.
It's like bizarre. So why didn't the computer flip? I mean, the phone did it. It's technology. Come on.
That's that Jimmy Buffett. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, or at least my working computer thinks it's 5 o'clock.
Right. So I changed. And he was telling me I set the record every year for opening stage.
They kept talking.
We went 10 more minutes
after that. Anything from that for you, Langston Moore, or is it just
he did a solid job of representing his program and himself and his players, or is anything else?
Yeah, and again, I mean, if there's anything earth-shattering that comes out of any of this stuff, because again, this still is, as my guy from LSU said earlier, the head coach over there, Brian Kelly, he's like, this is a media day car wash. We're going through here, Simon, questions, and Jay and I were talking off air, like, who's going to be the guy to ask the stock question to everybody, even though it's Vanderbilt or somebody like that, but there's certain things that come with the agenda, and this is the thing about being a head coach, because you want to put forward-facing, kind of like what your program is. We talked about some of the players that are coming here, the representation. You just don't want all the academic guys, but you want some culture guys here. You want some, Debo Williams. You want all of that guys who maybe turn down going into the NFL. But also, I think that's the biggest thing, is just kind of set the footing in the setting. But you're not coming out there saying, Oklahoma, watch out. We're coming for you. Texas, watch out. Oh, they're not even on the schedule this year. So that type of stuff. But all in all, I mean, it just reiterates for me how close we are to the next season. I told you my biggest thing, I wanted to see Boogie Huntley and see how in shape he was, and he looked very svelte, very phenomenal. And the first thing he said is, "Man, I'm missing a workout," which further lets you know these guys.
Boogie looked like he'd been doing some work. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, if I know Chip more than the rest of the staff up there, I had the privilege of being a player with Chip in the Cincinnati Bengals when he was the shrimp coach out there. So God bless him and everything he went to get down there, because he had the Chad Johnsons of the world and the Langston Moores of the oh, Jesus Christ. But I think that just folds into what Shane Beamer was saying, that these guys are primed, they're hungry. There might be a lot of talk about other things and what the ceiling is for the South Carolina team. But obviously, the younger guys and the guys that are here represent, they all have that steely-eyed look, like they're ready to
kind of go that road. Guys like Jay, myself, whoever fans be like, you went 5-7 last year, you underachieved, it was unacceptable. The minute the season's over, everybody should lock themselves into the weight room or the workout room. Nobody should even have any fun, because you should be so mad that you went 5-7. I'm mad you went 5-7. You went 5-7. From a player's perspective, forget media, forget fans. From a player's perspective, and you've been on teams, overachieved, underachieved, really good, and really bad. You covered the whole thing. If you underachieve, what's the mindset out of an underachieving season when you go into that off season? Like you said, steely-eyed. You guys are coming back. They're in shape. What's the proper mindset when you walk away from the underachieving season as a player?
Attention to detail. All the little things matter. The reason why, why the hell we got to tuck our shirt in January when it's this, or why does everybody? Why does it have to be this? Or nobody's coming in with the earrings, whatever. And again, does that matter when it's 3rd and 3 that you didn't have earrings in when you were doing arm curls in the weight room in July? Probably not. But it's all about the discipline, and that's the thing. Jay and I were whispering to each other. Besides talking about the Spelman barbecue over there, is it's about players, and that's one of the big things Shane's talked about. Is there's in Oklahoma, Texas, when they were in the Big 12, there might be 4 teams with that. Now it's every team in the SEC. They have players. They have even down to the no disrespect to Vanderbilt, but there's the guys out there. They see themselves as SEC players and prepare, and so it's all about details because everybody's talented. Everybody's got speed. All those different things. And Shane is right. The SEC, the margin of error is much like the NFL, where like you can look at a game and be like, man, it's 24-10. This game is over, and then you turn back in an hour and a half, and they're kicking their line up for a field goal. And that's what a lot of the SEC games are. They're either really blowouts, or they're all, and more than likely, margin of error. And that's with the attention to detail. And that's called like putting your weight card a certain way, putting your all the little stuff you're like rolling your eyes at. There's a method to that matters because it's priming you up when things are matter when the bullets are really live.
Because Bill Belichick said it, and he has, basically to the media, Bill Belichick's got the personality of my fork. Well, didn't always do your job. Do your job. We'll roll our eyes and go, yeah, whatever, Bill. But really, it does. How much of this, like you talked about last year, the attention to detail, how much of it is you can only coach up so much, and when you're on the field, and look, it's easier said than done when you're like sitting and watching the game on your TV, you're sitting in your press box. You've got to do your job and know your assignment and hit the right gap and do your right responsibility, all while the other team is trying to hit you or whatever. So how much of this is in that moment as a player? Either you're coached up to where it's muscle memory, or you have a high football IQ, or whatever it is. Comes down to I just got to make the right play, do my job, and then that leads to the success. And maybe how much of that is true, or how much that's false?
Tons of it is true because again, as a defensive player, the one time you don't, have the cutback or the reverse, that's when the football seems to find you, and it's always in those instances. Maybe it's because they saw a 300-pound defense end out there, and he can't, he's not going to make that tackle anyway. The whole point is going in and making, and this is the old football adage, you treat practice like a game and game like a practice, because again, there's not a lot of coaching that's going on, and that's the big misnomer when I came into the league or into the SEC like on Saturday. I mean, all the hay's in the barn. I can't make you do something that you haven't been doing all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's the same way in the offseason. So that's why there's more onus and putting so much stuff on there. But to your point, Terry, you got to make sure it's not where you're just beating the drum of just constant dojo Spartans work. You're putting your hand in the fiery glass every day. Like, you got to have some fun. And that's where you're trying to figure out different ways to incorporate the Fort Jackson deal, or doing a service deal, or even doing the Gamecocks literacy deal, having certain things. All of that stuff matters. And now, again, is that going to be the telltale end of all of those things? No, but all the details, and the harder you can make it, the more you're going to reap the benefits of that. Because again, you only have so much time in season. You only have so much time during the week. And like I said, once the bullets are flying live, the greatest quote coach ever gave. The best speech I ever got pre-game kickoff. The coach was like, "Yeah, we're going to run down here," and then I got knocked in the face. I don't remember damn what he said. And that's the thing about that. You just remember your training, muscle memory, and you got to constantly be on those details. 7 yards instead of 8 yards. All of those things matter.
Right, so forget head coaches for a minute. Even forget coordinators. The dudes you're working with are your position coaches, right? What makes a good position coach?
Communication, honesty, much just like a good teacher. It depends, because sometimes there's a guy, he came from a cussing coach in high school, and this guy can just shut down. Versus, all I got to do is say 2 things to this guy, and he's off for the day. I got him, and that comes back to relationships. That comes back to that old trust, care, commitment. Being able to tell a kid, you're doing this wrong, and they listen to you. Versus, Jay, we talk about teenagers all the time. Them actually like listen to you and rolling their eyes. Versus like listen to you and roll their eyes, but you might be right a little bit. And that's the biggest thing when you're talking about having that teacher. You can't have enough great minds. Hearing Coach Beamer talk about Coach Shula being on the offensive staff, bringing Joe DeCamillis in here, a former Dallas guy, NFL guy. You can't ever have enough smart guys in the room. You can't have enough teachers, because everybody's not going to like the same teachers. Back in our day, we used to have 7 periods in school, all 7 teachers you didn't like, but maybe 4 of those out of that made for a good day. And that's the same way what you want to do. You might not like Sean Elliott over there, but as long as you got the respect and the relationship is built, he can come by and say something to a rocket center like, "Now get your foot in the ground and hit it that way. We're going to win." And that's where it's paramount.
All right, here's a question going down that road. when we talk about, coaches. Shane, that's a part of it is, a couple guys left for gigs.
Yeah.
But there's also a shuffle in the coaching staff. Now, when the head coach, the two coordinators came back, even though I thought Clayton was teetering going into November and things got better because Shane had to come to Jesus like Satterfield, right? When we see the shuffling in the coaching staff, how much of that is telling us that when the coach sat back and looked at what was up, maybe something was missing in that communication that we're talking about right now to that player, and maybe that player didn't do his job on Saturday because maybe there was something that Shane didn't like going on during the week that leads to the muscle memory, and I've got it because I have my techniques and all that. Can that tell us anything from you being a former player and seeing a shakeup in the staff, or is that just me making up stuff so we can talk?
When I looked at the defensive side of the football for us, and again, Clayton is kind of like the linebacker safety kind of coach for us, but also the defensive coordinator. One of the things that's always you want to look at the relationship is like it's tough to try to be the position coach for one of the main cogs of your team. Like when I was in Detroit, the defensive line made that Tampa 2 kind of deal go. So Rod Marinelli was our coach, was our D-line coach on top of hovering around the defensive coordinator because he understood how hard that you couldn't have enough eyes. And so I think it was smart for Shane to kind of add some certain things, add a couple more pieces, because I thought Clayton, for the most part, was doing a lot of work on his own. We didn't have, not saying that, we didn't have the staff or the support, but that's just the way he set it up. So now seeing that you can make these in-game adjustments to this particular group, like the linebackers, while Clayton has to also make the adjustment to the whole entire defense at the same time, these things can happen really fast. You get the 3 and out, you were trying to make the adjustments, you didn't even get a chance to talk down to the defensive line. So I think that was making some of those adjustments, adding a couple more players, adding some more folks, and allowing Clayton to just focus more so on the strategy and some of the defensive scheme wise, and not having to go back and forth and do the technical position coach work that goes a long way. And I think that's one of the biggest things. In the same way, there's turnover all the time on college coaching staff, on staffs all the time, but it's all about who you're replacing with. Are you replacing those guys internally? How many? It's always a tough job, and I don't envy Coach Beamer at that all the time, because you always constantly got to have that paper list on your desk, like, oh, if this guy goes, what am I going to do with this? Especially, we saw that last year with Pete Limbo. Pete was one of the formidable guys for us. The reason why we been leading in block kicks and all that. I don't know how far Shane knew that was going to happen, but it's really tough to do that, and he's done a really good job of finding a guy like Deacon Millis, because not only to replace the strategic side, but also the personality that Pete brought in that room too.
All right, now I won't ask for a name. You don't have to give one, especially on the second
Jay
part of the
Phillips.
question. Okay, let's move on from that. That's just the answer for every question.
Right. Well,
Jay
Jay
Phillips.
fault.
Jay Phillips. Best position coach you ever had? NFL, college, whatever. Best position.
Rod
coach.
Marinelli, and again, it goes back to
I knew
him
he was
being.
gonna say that.
I knew
It goes back to
say
him
that.
being a teacher, and just with the passing of Monty Kiffin, that tie-in with the NFL, Tampa Bay. Again, the first day I walked into Detroit, and I was like, okay, I know, Joe Cullen, he's one of the premier defensive line coaches now. Google Joe Cullen and Detroit Lions, and there's be some interesting stories that come up there. I didn't see. I knew that was going to be my guy, but I didn't think, man, I'm working with the guy every day, your head coach. But this is what quarterbacks feel like every day, for the most part. This is what all the linebackers in Cincinnati felt like, having Marvin Lewis work with you every single day. So having that guy not just be there, but all the pressure went away, because once I realized he was such a phenomenal teacher, just really just down into the weeds, knew how to speak, foot pressure. Just all mundane stuff, but just makes all the difference when you're talking about defensive line stuff. And it just opens up and gives you so much confidence, much like a good teacher. Any guy, that's why Max Crosby has the career he had, because he got to spend 3 or 4 years coming out with the LA Raiders. And it's funny, I just hear him. I hear Sapp. I hear all these different guys. But that just comes back. All of those great, Monty Kiffin, they're all been great teachers, and that's why they have had legendary position players. They've had legendary teams, legendary defense. They've named defenses after the guys. Because, again, it's one thing to have all these great schemes, and that's the thing I used to laugh about with, like, Mike Zimmer. God bless him, coming back to the Dallas Cowboys. But Mike runs some really complicated stuff. And Mike wants to kind of sometimes show you how smart he is. And not every player, football, like you say, it's the middle of the game. You're running into somebody. You don't want to, I got to drop to the third flat. Like, no, I just want to play fast sometimes. And as a teacher, you got to understand, as Buddy Pugh says this all the time, I'm not going to put you in a position to be unsuccessful. I want you to go out there and be successful. I'm not going to make you run a fly route when all you do is run comebacks. Let's just run comebacks till we score.
All right, last couple minutes for this one. All right, you don't have to name a name.
Okay.
Worst position coach. Give me a story.
Worst position coach. There was a guy I played
NFL or
for.
college?
It was the NFL. And this guy, I love this guy. He was a good coach. He has a Lou Holtz tie. This team that I played for, they were also kind of some tigers, some cats. So, take with that what you will. But one of the best coaching advices I got during the game, the coach walked up to me, this defensive line coach looked at me and said, Langston, give him one of these things right here. And I'm doing the shoulder shimmy because we're not on YouTube. Langston, give him one of these shoulder shimmies. I was like, I'm in the NFL, and this is the best advice you can give me is give him one of these things right here. Like, what's that? And I can show you the difference between that and Rod Marinelli because Rod Marinelli said, treat it like one-on-one basketball without the basketball. I know you're sorry behind can't play basketball anyway, so you should be really good at this. And that was just a very clear picture versus the other coach who's had tons of Pro Bowlers, tons of guys, coached the guy that, we talking about Kyle Kennard coming in for Georgia Tech. He reminds me so much of Michael Johnson, who this coach coached up there, had a phenomenal career. So again, coaches and teachers, it varies, but I think that's a very clear, poignant deal between the difference between Rod Marinelli giving me a visual saying it's one-on-one basketball without the basketball. Boom, you good. Versus the guy saying, give me one of these little shimmy things here.
I guess you're going, really?
Exactly. And then you're tired. You're
as a young man to be in the NFL, to get the best of the best, and this is what I'm getting now.
And that's when you realize, guys, it's not all what it's cracked up to be. That you got to be a pro and figure out some other way because giving one of these right here is not working against Larry Allen right now, sir.
All right, it's 2024 SEC Media Days from the Omni in Dallas, brought to you by Lawyer Lisa, offering estate planning, elder care, and probate. They spend their days and nights worrying about your future, so you don't have to. Go online, lawyerlisa.com. And Ziegler Cart Sales, providing top-notch golf cart sales and service over 20 years. Call 843-621-5016. We'll come back. Langston's here. Jay's here. Elijah's here. 2024 SEC Media Days, the halftime show from the Omni in Dallas on the Game. Media Days 2024 in Dallas at the Omni. Of course, our resident expert on Dallas, Langston Moore, hanging out with us.
I'm here. Put that on the check memo line too. Resident consultant.
Resident consultant on the city of Dallas
That's
and
right.
the Metroplex. Langston Moore. Elijah's here. Jay's here. We're just kind of hanging around for 4 days, just shooting the crap.
Yeah.
Between noon and 6 here on the game. All right. So as we've beaten that dead horse to death, what happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
Injuries across the offensive line pretty much cratered the offense.
Right.
Defensively, issues up until that last month of the season. After that game with Jacksonville State, seems like things got figured out a little bit. And they, changed to a 3-3-5 and started changing the coverage schemes and decided, our safeties really can't cover slot receivers. We need to stop putting them man on man to fail. Now we move forward. This defense, I feel like, Langston, especially that first month, they're going to have to carry an offense that's trying to get its shizzle together, so to speak, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. And that's why the revamp of the offensive line with the 5-star guys coming in, the young kid from Dillon coming in, obviously having everybody healthy. This is the crazy thing about last year. Nobody wants to go through a MASH unit, having, turn over every stone. Coaches really having to teach kick slides, the defensive linemen who don't know kick slides. All of that is gone. Like you said, that's last year. Hopefully everybody's fully healed up from that. But you take benefit from that because there's playing experience. Maybe a guy was playing halfway hurt. So now he's got both of his legs underneath him, metaphorically. So all of that collectively says that makes the practices better because the guy who maybe was the 13 guy who had to start, now he's on the second team and now he's pushing because he feels like, hold up, I was good enough last year. Let me start giving a little bit to Tonka Hemingway up here because, again, it just makes it's kind of that old adage, the adversity, the difficult stuff. Even though nobody would have signed up for those things, I think we can benefit from that and couple in some stuff like with Rocket Sanders. To your point, that's going to be our recipe for success, winning those first couple games. Of course, with Akron coming in and then going on the road, going out there to Kentucky, we know what that's going to be. And I'm going to just tell you, I was saying this on a group chat the other day. Mark Stoops, when he sees supposedly a rookie offensive tackle right there, and then a rookie, the very first time SEC road game quarterback, he's going to try to give you everything as if it is the 85 Bears and he got refrigerator Perry because, that is the conference. Nobody wants to let the young guy get you, but that's a really pivotal game for us because hopefully we should take care of business. However, the fashion is hopefully clean. That first game there, but going on the road, winning it up there, that can really set and how we're going to do that is stopping the run, playing a whole bunch of defense, field position, maybe getting an off kilter play with Norris where he chucks it behind somebody. We're not anticipating for him to go up there because, again, it feels like I'm on Lou Holtz repeat greatest hits hours here. But when you go on the road, and this is the thing you have to learn as a team in the SEC is, you got to pack your defense, your special teams, your tackling, and your discipline. I don't say nothing about no offense because we can't rely on them.
Right.
But by the time the offense does get going, and if that is there, we'll be just fine. We'll blow this game out. So for us to win these games is going to be a lot of stopping the run, giving the ball to Rocket Sanders, maybe doing some pull and pull. We know Norris has the legs, he has the speed, but we don't want him to go up there and decipher safety in the box, all these different things that Mark is right now and thinking about right now is like, who we got this second? Oh, yeah, I got something for him because that is their MO. Nobody wants to put that on tape that I let this guy with goggles on and who barely has 80-something snaps go out here and put me to shame. No, especially when I wear this Rolex. So expect that. And then hopefully from that, this is the benefit of being a young team. You take all that momentum and that enthusiasm, you just kind of roll with that because we got one more game, then we got a break, and you start to take the season in chunks like that.
Yeah, and I think you hit the point of you got this young quarterback. Yeah, what we've seen has been like, oh my God, did you see that play?
Yes.
Did you see that throw? Did you see that run? But now he's going to play every snap.
Yeah.
And now he's the dude. And you, like, to your point, you want him to do the things in the beginning he's comfortable doing, playing to his natural strength while he's learning the other stuff. The last thing you want him doing is chucking the rock 35 or 40 times because you're in some certain situation where you're down by 3 or 4 scores. So playing to his strength is really a huge key on offense until he gets up to speed, and a defense that's got to help him out.
Yeah, and the more we can, he's a tremendously smart kid, football IQ, we've heard these things, but still, we want to keep it as simple as possible across the board. If we can take away the progression, the protection, if we have a run game semblance, when it gets to be really short where we need to hit these yards, let's give the option to have the run pass option, those different things. But it all starts with making sure we establish the run, protect him, taking certain things off the board so he can kind of feel it, have it slow down for him. And I've been saying this kind of all offseason in a crazy amount of way. I'm not saying this is don't nail me to this, Terry, but it's very similar to the older Beamer up in Blacksburg when he was kind of teetering on, where that program was going to go. There was a quarterback that was a redshirt guy who came off the bench. And
you gonna do it? You gonna do it?
I'm not going to say Lenoris is that, but if we can get the poor man's version of that, coupled with the improvement of our defense, that's going to put us in the right amount of spot. And if I know anything about these Shane Beamer teams, and we've seen this in the first couple of years where he'll play whoever, any style, wherever, change the quarterback, put the assistant coach who is only coming in, Zeb Nolan, God bless him. I mean, he will do anything to win those football games. Unlike certain teams, certain programs say, we're only going to win it like this way. I'm not going to have this guy come in and then we switch it out. That's just too much chaos. At the end of the day, it's about winning football games. My whole point is I think this feels like the precipice for that team, not to put a lot of pressure, but it feels like we have that guy there. We have, of course, the young kid from the defensive end coming there. So it reminds me of Corey Moore. Maybe it's just because I was recruited by Virginia Tech at that time, and I put all those things together. But it feels like a lot of these things are lining up, and hopefully that's the benefit of being young and dumb. You don't know once you get rolling. You don't know you're not supposed to be this good, this early, this clean, and have this much confidence.
I miss being young and dumb, dude. Don't you?
Man,
I was bulletproof when I was young and
then
dumb.
the knees work too, Jay. And then the knees work. Man.
Body parts are good. You don't wake up going, "Why is that sore?"
What's the gout? What's the gout?
Gout. Yeah, nobody at 18 gets the gout, dude.
I heard my dad say like the gout. I was like, "What are you talking about?
What's a gout?
Is that like swamp foot or something?"
Do people still get that? I don't know how that works.
Oh, yes, they do, Jay.
They do. I got buddies who have the gout. I got a couple of buddies who got the gout. To me, that's officially when you're an old dude, is when you got the gout.
That's when you can't eat shellfish. It's like, oh man,
what
they call it the rich man's disease.
Right.
Y'all are making me uncomfortable. I don't know what to look forward to now.
Big healthy over here.
Yeah, Mr. Young.
I just saw him tear up 2 breakfast tacos earlier, so
things were good.
I was just gonna say, man, how good are those breakfast tacos, man?
Good.
All right, here's my question to you. I think the other key of this team, obviously, stay healthy, but I don't think anybody took account to the lack of depth from last year's team. Yeah. We were so busy going, I won 8 games, went to a Gator Bowl, Rattlers coming back, going to have juice, and we hope Leggett will pop. Nobody even knew this. Oh, you got this and that and the other thing and blah, 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 blah. Didn't account for the fact that it's a collision sport, and in a collision sport, people get hurt.
Yeah.
And I think we were, I guess, maybe not thinking about depth. We were like, wow, this team really doesn't have depth, especially on the offensive line or a wide receiver in the backfield. It feels like the depth is so much better. Again, they haven't played it down yet,
right?
But just on paper, this cool paper we have in front of us, it feels like this is a deeper football team with guys who have been there, done that. You're not relying on 19 or 20-year-olds to step up. You don't know if they can step up or not. Through the portal, they brought in enough guys who got some skins in the game. You feel like the depth is in a much better place, right?
Yeah, and the teams that I've been on that have the most success, it was like 1A, 1B, where the guys were pushing each other. Same way with baseball, same with basketball, same way with I was watching the soccer game the other night. And again, they don't put this phenomenal player, that always blows my mind with soccer, to the back half of, the last 90 minutes of the game. But that's his whole deal, is to try to steal one more goal.
Super tough.
And that's the same way. It's the same way with football. You can't have enough Boogie Hunleys in there. You can't have enough somebody that can come in. Maybe this kid doesn't, can handle the actual load of a 50, 60 game snap, but for him to come in and play at a really high level for 20 snaps, and then that's the thing about being young. You start to grow this confidence, then you start to see, man, we talking about last year with the Georgia game when we had the young kid get the defensive player of the week. That is the standard of practice every week, and that's what that relates over to. And that's what I hope to see with the offensive line, especially for a lot of guys that are starting now.
2024 SEC Media Days from Dallas, brought to you in part by Behringer General Store, 138 West Evans Street in Florence. Come in, relax, shop local. Behringer Country Store, where the past meets the future, and TEC Equipment Rental, your local Takeuchi dealer. Check them out online, www.tecentral.com. We're going to get back to our Greg Sankey conversation that was interrupted by Shane Beamer. We're going to talk about what the commission had to say next, live 2024 SEC Media Days from Dallas, halftime show in the game.
We're focused on our 16 period. You've seen how we've made decisions over the last decade plus for contiguous states to join. I think that's incredibly wise and provides remarkable strength. And I'm not going to guess about what happens next.
Focused on our 16. We get a T-shirt.
Contiguous states to join.
You know what's connected to some of these states?
Well, I know what's not Clemson and Florida State.
Because the states are already connected.
Yeah, they're already there.
You know what's connected to South Carolina?
North
Last time I checked,
Carolina.
you know what's connected to North Carolina?
Virginia.
Yeah, just say it.
Let's just go ahead and bring West Virginia into this.
Ah,
You know
why
what I'm
not? Hey, they'd love to get out of the,
Oh, my
the
God.
Big 12, wouldn't they?
West Virginia would do what SMU's doing.
We'll
yes.
pay. We'll
Yeah.
pay for the whole thing. We'll do it for free. By the way, SMU's got a little money, right?
A whole heap of money. A whole heap of money. We'll take a tour. It's probably probably this hotel is probably halfway probably a SMU grad or somebody owns it, right?
All right, so
Who was JR's niece? Charlene Tilton was the actress, but what was her name?
I can't think
She
of
went
it.
to SMU.
She went to SMU? Well,
Yeah.
that tells you right there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, those of you that watched Dallas, and if you didn't, you should.
Or the people that are going, what the hell's Dallas?
No, you should watch Dallas.
Dallas was, my dad was such a J.R. Ewing hater. My dad couldn't even watch. He'd walk out
J.R.
the living
Ewing,
room. He'd
J.R.
walk out the living
Ewing
room.
and Ric Flair are the same character.
I don't disagree.
Just one is wrestling and one is television.
Yes.
If JR
Yeah.
JR was typically the biggest tool on the planet.
Right.
But if you crossed the Ewings,
Mm-hmm.
then JR, it was all family.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ric Flair,
Yep.
like hated Dusty Rhodes
Mhm.
and he loved Arn and Tully.
Mhm.
But when the Russians,
Oh, it's different, man.
man,
Different ball game.
Ric Flair was an
You
American
know.
man.
So, JR was an American too.
That's
now,
what I'm
the
saying.
Russians,
Well,
Well,
but JR was but if you crossed the
right.
Ewings,
Oh,
then
yeah.
you made an enemy of JR.
Well, it was
that's the best.
Yeah, I used to go to my dad and go, it's a TV show, Dad. You need to really relax.
I
Like Dad
think-
Dad would have punched Larry Hagman in the face.
That
and
lets
Dad
you know
would've
how
had it.
real
think-
the acting is. That's why you can't tell them
I
that
think
wrestling wasn't
I
real.
think I'm on your dad's side.
and Larry Hagman's just an actor, but my dad would have actually beat Larry Hagman to death if he could, because he hated JR so much.
I say all the time that some of the like Mr. Burns, Darth Vader, and Hans Gruber are the three best like movie or TV villains, but J.R. Ewing is like a solid
Oh,
fourth.
absolutely. All right, so listen to Greg Sankey, and obviously we're joking about we're focusing on 16. We played that litigation cut before Shane took the stage. We don't have time for it's a long cut by Sankey talking about what players want, what players have told him what they want. And the whole thing's fascinating to me, Langston, because what they seem to not want to say is that the Supreme Court told you basically you've been breaking laws for 70 years. Because one of the things Greg Sankey said, the old system was working pretty well. It wasn't perfect. You were breaking antitrust laws for almost a century.
Right.
And now you have to be legal.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no idea what to do. You're running to Congress for help because you are clueless as to fix your mess. As a player, put yourself in the mindset of today. I know you can't all the way, but I know you think, you're always going to think like a player, dude. You're a player. What's your thought if you're a college player? If Langston Moore was in college today, what would he want right now?
Besides, being able to develop as a player, all those things, but the money, because that's in essence what we're all talking about. 16 teams, all these different things. How's the do-re me going to get to me?
Mhm.
Whether it's going to be a baseline salary like certain institutions are doing over here, or is it going to be, the same way across the board? Who can afford that? Who can't afford that? I think that's probably, my piece of the pie. That would probably be one of my biggest things that I would be trying to figure out as a player, especially now with so much money. Talking about adding another team, having to cut them another SEC check once a year is really, really tough. So, it's interesting when you're talking about like, they get to go to Congress and Sankey gets to talk to some of. I'm listening to the players, but are you listening more to the lobbyists and the people that you're sending up there to Congress? Because that's the one thing the labor doesn't have. Shane Beamer has an agent and a representative. There are NIL collectives, but the guys who make it go, who are the product on the field, they don't have these NFLPAs. They don't have these things here. And so who are you listening to? Are we listening to the quarterbacks of the world? I mean, that's really interesting to me.
I will throw this out to you. We have about like a minute maybe.
Right.
Before this thing to get fixed, like truly get fixed, don't the players need a representative body to speak for them so that helps you stay out of court? Am I totally lost my mind?
I would think so. Again, I never thought about all this stuff till I saw, the unions, and then every team had a union rep, and then there's another union rep behind that. And then I think it gets a little bit more difficult within the college scheme, because if we're talking about transferring out or having the ability, maybe it's not working here, but I'm the representative for this team, or maybe after 2 years, I don't want to play football anymore. It's really interesting to see like the NFL dynamic, because I have a vested interest as an NFL player, but the college guys, there's so much turnover, having the right sensible guy, God bless you. If you want Langston Moore to be your representative, I'm going to do my best, but maybe there's somebody more well-versed than that. It's really, really tough. They need representation for sure.
Absolutely. Dude, always good hanging out with you, brother.
You too, man. I appreciate you. We're going to go get you some good lunch right now. I'm going to come back.
This was dope hanging out with you, man. Oh, always love hanging out with Langston. Jay and Elijah are going to take over. Tyler, thank you for all your work, man. You're behind the scenes. You've been killing it. If you missed some Shane, we'll have some Shane coming up on the post-game show with Jay and Elijah next here on The Game live from 2024 SEC Media Days.
everybody else seems to just fall in line. And so if the leaders are doing right, everybody else is going to do right. I think that is where Ole Miss is right now. And I think we should just stand back and just live in this moment, because this is Ole Miss's time, and I'm here for it.
You know, we talk so much about Jackson Dart, but the rest of that backfield, Quinshon Judkins transfers to Ohio State. What do you guys make of Ulysses Bentley?
I like him.
I do too.
I really like him.
Like a lot.
I like him so much because he is so explosive. He's very sudden. He's more sudden than Judkins was last year. Very sudden. He was a great change of pace back. Now you are the pace. And so this is what it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to it with the big guys that they brought in that Jordan alluded to earlier. I think Ulysses Bentley is going to have a huge year. And it's also, nobody's going to be looking for him. They're looking at everybody else. And I just right here hand it off to a possible 1,000-yard running back.
They also bring back Henry Parrish, Logan Diggs, may not be healthy right away, but a couple transfers. They're talented. Real quickly, when you amass a bunch of portal people, I think we talk about what happens in adversity, right? How do we gel? All those guys are hungry to win. Yeah. I think that levels up the focus for the entire team.
Well, this is going to be one of the teams that we're talking about a lot. Ole Miss, the Rebels, with head coach Lane Kiffin now at the podium.
Good afternoon. Lane Kiffin is in his 5th season at the University of Mississippi and has led the Rebels to 4 consecutive bowl berths, including 2 in the New Year's Six group. Finished last year with an 11-2 overall record, including a Peach Bowl victory over Penn State. There are 2 head coaches in the history at Ole Miss who have had multiple 10-win seasons, Johnny Vaught and Lane Kiffin. Lane has become an avid pickleball player. Lane is the only person I know who's not injured himself playing pickleball. He's organized a 64-person March Madness style tournament at Ole Miss for the football staff and others. He competes with his fellow football coaches in what is called the SPL, the Staff Pickleball League. They use the same naming agency as the college football playoff. Just keep it basic. That happens at noon each day. Lane has sent me pictures of his fishing experiences over the years. Sent me one from a hot yoga class, but he's never sent me a photo from his pickleball tournaments. I do want to take a moment before I invite Lane up here to talk about his football team, to recognize the loss that he and his family have experienced with the passing of Monty Kiffin. I first met Monty in the SEC office when Lane and Monty were at Tennessee. Monty worked with Lane in 4 settings: Tennessee, Southern Cal, Florida Atlantic. At Ole Miss, I was invited in by Mike's Live to sit around a table and watch Mike and Monty just tell stories about who they both knew in college football. And I think that is a sign of respect that Monty earned as one of the greatest coaches recognized in football, certainly one of the greatest assistant coaches at the NFL level, where he worked for 29 years. Particularly noted for the Tampa 2 defense. On the college level, people will forget he also coached at NC State, Arkansas, and Nebraska. I've asked Lane if he would, and I mean this with the greatest respect because we all share our sympathies and condolences with him, if he would begin by just addressing his dad, maybe a story about Monty, and then to ask all of you if he could then go back to being the head football coach at Ole Miss, and you ask him and he converse about his team. We do, as a group in this league, honor and share those condolences and sympathies with Lane. I'd like to invite Lane Kiffin, the head football coach at Ole Miss, to the podium.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. Really grateful and thankful to so many people that have supported this challenging week from all over the country, especially Oxford and Ole Miss community and church yesterday, and even Pastor Fish afterwards. Coming over with myself and Mom was really special, and it's been an amazing outpouring of support, of stories from former players, former coaches, and especially former staff of people in the building, and how many friends came out of that, and in the Bucks community and family. So in my opinion, it's not really the place or the time to go into a lot on this. You know, that'll be Saturday in Tampa. And, you know, so I'll just say one thing. I've talked before about being my hero. I had a high school neighborhood friend, really middle school friend. And he said hero is not really the right term for him. It's superhero. And that's what he was to the people that he touched. And he used this term, and now I'm using this term in description of him, because I really feel like, you know, there's very few superheroes and very few great ones that, you know, loved everyone and tried to help everyone they came in touch with forever. Whether you were big or small, wherever you were, he tried to help. And one person said, you know, which I think is telling for those that you don't know him, and I thought this was very descriptive. And he said, I met him in a gas station, and although he was a stranger to me, he made me feel like a friend, and that was him. So he'd never want anybody to have a bad day.